If you made, and it's a formula, right? X minus Y equals Z. X is how much you make. Y is what it would cost to pay someone else to do your job. Z is what's left over. Could you have the life you want with Z?
This is Right About Now with Ryan Alford, a Radcast Network production. We are the #1 business show on the planet with over 1 million downloads a month. Taking the BS out of business for over 6 years and over 400 episodes. You ready to start snapping necks and cashing checks? Well, it starts right about now.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Right About Now. Hey, we're powered today by Exponent. Hey, that's that clean energy. Zero sugar, plant-powered, adaptogens, nootropics. It's tasty. You know what else is tasty? My friend, Charles Schwartz. What's up, Charles?
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I want some of that now. Send it on over. I got to say
yes. Hey, we got all the flavors here. I got Eclipse and Blue Nova. So
Blue Nova.
Yes. We'll send you some. He is the host of Scale It Lab. He's a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. He's just a cool dude, you know? Like, for those that know him the way I do. Charles, what's happening today, brother?
Man, it's been great. Just went through a birthday, and it's just been really busy and just really excited to be here.
Yeah, so, man.
Really appreciate it.
Hey, I'm glad we're going to talk scaling it. I've been really impressed what you've done with your show, and I know there might be a name change to come. We'll talk about that.
There might be a name change to
come. But whatever it's called, it's the substance behind it that's been impressive. So I know we'll get down that path, but let's set the table for everyone. Who the hell is Charles Schwartz?
So a lot of what we're talking about here, specifically with Scale Lab, is I've been scaling companies for the last 20 years. And the whole reason I created Scale Lab was there was all these secrets. You know, the running joke is Jesus didn't walk on water. He knew where the rocks were. There's always been these rocks. We know where these rocks are. And I wanted to get those rocks out to people because every time I go into these corporations and someone's at 7, they want to make 8 figures or wherever they are, some guy will come in and share this one thing and the entire org changes. And all of a sudden profits change and everything gets easier. And there's some very simple rules when it comes to scaling. And there's 3 that are just constantly across the board that we always do that everyone always breaks. And I'll go into them in a second. But I really want to say, hey, there are specific tools and there are specific systems and things you can do. And I wanted to be able to give it out to everybody. So that's why we honestly created Scale Lab. And that's, I think, how we caught each other's attention.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I think that and I just, it was like when I found your show and I listened to it, I was like, all right, I like Charles. I like your cadence, the way you do the episodes. Like the structure of it and the value, like you said it perfect. Cause it's like, I don't think you gave me the analogy, like maybe when we were talking before, like sometimes you listen to shows, you're like, okay, all this is great, but tell me how you did the thing, whatever that thing is, right?
All these podcasters, I don't care what the name of your dog was in high school. I don't care what color your car was. I don't give a damn about any of that. I just want to know this one thing. Just shut up and tell me this one thing so I can pull over, write it in my hand, give me actionable steps so that I can do it right now. And all of this started, you know, because the idea of doing a podcast wasn't something I wanted to do in any way, shape, or form. But the rules of an entrepreneur is real simple. If you complain about something, you got to bring me 2 solutions to it. So I was complaining about it. My buddies were very drunk and they're like, hey, come on, give me 2 solutions. Oh, son of a bitch. And that's literally how it happened. And it was horrible in the beginning. So for those of you who are just finding out about it, the first season, everyone's like, it's a webcam. I had no idea about microphones. I don't have a beautiful screen behind me. I had no idea. You know, we jokingly talk about that. I was the Beyonce of podcasts, but in like the 1990s, because she went on Star Search and she got kicked off. I was like, yeah, that was Beyonce. It was horrible.
SD
Absolutely horrible the first go around. It was really bad.
Charles, I do think this is interesting. I don't know that anybody cares what your dog, what his name was, but something framed your point of view of the world and scaling and business. I mean, what did frame, like, what were your influences? Like what, you know, a lot of it's been your real experience. We're about the same age. And so you've done a lot, but what kind of guides your view of the business world and just in general? 3 things: poverty, death, and laziness. So I grew up poor. I couldn't afford the last 3 letters of poor. And I then spent 8 years in a hospice. That's how I paid for college, watching people die, ran their IT systems, and that'll reset your ego really fast. And then I realized as an entrepreneur, I was instinctively lazy. And most entrepreneurs have a real hard time having other people tell us what to do. And that's normal for entrepreneurs. Being instinctively lazy was something that I brought in. I was like, well, shit, now it's going to be worse. So now I've got this. I don't like being told what to do.
And I am lazy. So what is the way that I can get from A to B with the least amount of effort with the maximum result? And that's really what, got me rocking and rolling, because I was sitting down and I did IT. I worked with people, and the owners of the companies were out on a boat, smoking cigars, hanging out, making 6-figure weekends while their employees are getting crushed. I was like, time out. This working hard, getting married to the grind, having this hustle porn idea of getting up at 4 a.m, working out 5 times, having 15 meetings. It's just not the reality I was seeing for most business owners. They were using systems, and they were scaling in a really effective way because they got out of their own way. They didn't have their ego involved. And that changed a lot of things for me, because I really didn't care where the residual income came in. I just wanted automated residual income as quickly as I could with the least amount of effort. So I started hunting scaling, and that's really where it all started. And
you brought up a word there, and I think that's big with founders and the ego word. And your book even. I mean, to go right at it. I mean, is all about this in some ways. I'll let you talk about that, but I do think that's what gets in the way of a lot of. It's like I really I believe this to a degree. Either your idea is so good that your ego can't get in the way and your execution of it, or you've figured out how to get it out of your way. And for most of us, you have to figure out the latter, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes to a business owner, ego is helpful in the beginning because it's going to be brute force. You're going to pull in the 80 to 100-hour weeks. That's brute force. And that'll get you, if you're good, $500,000, $750,000 a year. That'll get you there. But we talk about this with scaling. The biggest problem with scaling, bar none, is that ego. It's the owner. It's that owner not realizing that there's a huge difference between being an owner and a founder. And being an owner and an owner operator, all that's going to do is tie you up, raise your blood pressure, and make you hate your life. Your health's going to fall apart. Everything's going to fall apart until you can step back as that founder. And we talk about it being like Tarzan. Tarzan swings through the jungles, goes vine to vine. Most owners will hold on to that vine that got them where they were going, and they won't let go. So the momentum instantaneously stops. They think, hey, I've got the connections. I know how to do this. I knew when this was this. I'm the man, blah, 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 blah. You're not. So whenever I work with clients, I always say, you're the problem. Like, my job is to fire you. If you want automated residual income, my job is to fire you. So that's the biggest problem with all scaling. It's not your operation. It's not fulfillment. It's not procedures. It's not SOP. It's none of that crap. It's the owner. Once I can get the owner out of the way, and it's a really simple process that we do this with. It comes down to kind of a simple exercise. We walk through them and say, all right, here's what you're doing. And you're going to do for the next 5 years. And you're going to pull your 80 plus hours a week. Because you and I both know that's a light week for most entrepreneurs. And you might double your income. Or, that's option A. Option B, you can sell, I don't care, cat dildos. I'm giving them. You'll make half as much, but you'll never answer the phone. Which one do you want? And most business owners are like, option B, I can spend time with my family and my health. I'm like, cool. Now, if you're listening right now and you're an option A person, I can help you. Please stop listening. Go away. You're not my people. I got nothing.
Just check out now. Get your half hour back.
I got nothing for you. Go be your passion project. You're not my people.
I mean, as the host of the show, and wanting our listen times to go up, if you just stay on just for me, then I'd appreciate it.
I'll give you more answers here. Yeah. But for most business operators, they get to the point where, they had this idea, as you were talking about. They had this beautiful idea, and they become their khakis from a Fight Club reference. They'd be like, this is who I am. This is what I do. And I've always been this guy. And I was like, what if I can make it so you don't have to be that guy and you never have to get out of bed anymore if you don't want to? What if I can create that residual? And all of a sudden they're like, wait, what? I'm like, what if you can be there and watch your kids grow up? What if you can get into these we can do this and automate your residual income? The game starts changing. So that's the first hurdle that anyone goes into, is this Tarzan effect, thinking that you're the man holding onto the vine that got you here. It's not going to get you there. You got to pivot out. You got to go from being an owner to a founder. And it's a massive mindset shift. And most owners never get to it unless someone either comes in and smacks them upside the head with it, or they just have massive burnout and heart attacks.
Yes. Seen that a lot. Yep. I keep thinking of, someone swinging through the jungle making the,
That's exactly what it is. And they just get stuck and they don't move.
Me, Tarzan. What's the, when you've worked with people, when you've counseled people, where does that light flip? Like, where's What does it take to make that switch for that founder?
So we talk about it with future focus, and we just get really honest. And, normally I'm working with them one-on-one, and before I work with their C-level individuals and their senior staff, we sit down and said, are you happy? Is this really what you want? If your last year was what your next 5 years will look like, is this what you want? And if you've got kids, the switch happens fast. They're like, I don't care anymore. I'm exhausted. I've got to deal with, manufacturers, and I've got to deal with suppliers, and I got to deal with employees who are always a nightmare. And I've got to deal with I'm just tired. I'm like, cool. If you made, and it's a formula, right? X minus Y equals Z. X is how much you make. Y is what it would cost to pay someone else to do your job. Z is what's left over. Could you have the life you want with Z? And the minute they lay that out and they see it, they go, oh yeah, I'm done. I don't need $5 million a year. I can absolutely live on $1 million, or I don't need $1 million. I can live on $500,000. Absolutely. Give me my time back. Because one of the things that people think when they retire, like, well, I can't be part of my business anymore. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. And that's the difference. Having that freedom. And, we were talking about earlier about where to live and where to not live. This is one of the things I love about being an American. We love freedom. And when we realize that we've given up our freedom and our health, most people don't catch it till it's too late. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, my kid is going to prom. I thought my kid was just going to kindergarten. What the hell? I miss my kid, and my wife's a stranger, and all of those things. And like, wow, my God, I've got prediabetes and all this other stuff. When you start thinking disconnected from the business, and I've already shown them how to systematize and automate themselves out, then they're like, all right, clearly I'm the problem. And the ironic thing is, once we automate them out, the business skyrockets every single time, because they are the bottleneck. Because, we talked about before, ego, got to get them out. And it's hard for them to see that sometimes.
Talking with Charles Schwartz. He's the host of Scale It Lab podcast, maybe soon to be the Charles Schwartz Show, or All About Charles. Charles in Charge.
We'll just do that.
See, there we go. We can get a naming exercise here.
We'll just do a whole naming exercise. It'll work. We'll come on with you guys.
What else we got to do to scale it, man? And what's like, two-part question. And maybe let's focus this one first, because I'm really fascinated. Like, with your show, what's something with a guest that you've had on talking about ways to scale and, like, again, extracting those secrets or those nuggets? Is there anything that's just really surprised you? You're a smart guy. You're an intuitive guy naturally. I'll say that for you.
Thank you.
And so, but is there anything you're like, okay, I didn't know that, and that's really interesting?
Yeah. I get really excited about the people who have automated things. And the stuff that surprised me, we had a guy on who did all about AI for sales. And he talked about building out these entire funnels and the newsletter campaign and all that. And he literally, he got on with my team and he showed me. And within 6 minutes, he did something we would have paid tens of thousands of dollars for. And he taught my team how to do it. And I was like, I'm out. How the hell do you do that? And it really goes into kind of that flow. And one of the things that we do to answer kind of two questions at once, when I work with the owners of companies, I say, okay, map out your entire process. Here's a marker. Here's a black marker. Map out. You got 15 minutes. I'm going to go out and probably have a donut, because I normally steal donuts when I'm working, because it's the only time I get to have nasty food. I still done it. And I have them map everything out. And so look from acquisition to the client all the way to fulfillment. Just map it out. And they map it out and they go and they do the whole thing. And I come back and I say, cool. I go, it's not perfect, but 15 minutes, close enough for government work. Give me the pen, and I hand them a red marker. And I said, circle anywhere that you are directly involved, where you are that involvement. And the minute that felt of that marker touches that, I throw the other marker at him. Like, congratulations, you made it prison. I'm like, you have failed. So when I've got guests that come on and they talk about that automation and how to get them out of it so they can automate their residual income, having business owners go, oh my God, I have built a prison for myself. I'm involved. It's something that's so counterintuitive, because you and I both have podcasts. This doesn't work unless I'm physically here, which is absolutely ineffective for when it comes to scaling businesses. But to give value, it is the best way to give value. And there's certain things you have to be there for. You're going to the gym. Sorry, you can't outsource that. You can't automate that. That just doesn't work. You got to put it in there. You got to grind. That is what it is. I've been an athlete my whole life. You got to grind. But when it comes to your business, if you just do an exercise, if your listeners do an exercise and they map it out and they circle anything that they're directly involved in, they haven't built a business. They can't scale that business. They built a prison. And it might be a very nice prison. They might be making $6-7 million a year, but it's still a prison and it's brutal. So I think having people come on and they show how they've automated themselves out of it and how they've used very specific things to do that, that's always made me really excited. But it also, because our listeners come out and they're like, hey, I want this strategy, or I want this process. That's where they fail. And that's always the third thing we talk about with them, is how strategies and your processes are poison. We talk about all the time, processes are poison. And I can go into that if you want, where we talk about this, and it's all based off McDonald's. Yeah. So McDonald's, very early on in the 80s and 90s, when I used to eat it, but I was a teenager, so I could eat Tupperware and it just didn't matter. McDonald's was known for hiring people with special needs, and they were great for it. They were just wonderful. And they were in the process of redoing their POS, the point of sale system, which the cash register, nice way to do it. And they had this grid layout. And one of the guys was sitting there and was working on it. And one of the employees had special needs, came over, and he goes, what is this? What are you doing? Because it looked like a big checkers board to him. He goes, well, no, this is a new point of sales. This is our new cash register. And he's like, okay. He goes, well, this is, how you order things, like how you order drinks. And the guy goes, how would you order a drink? And the guy was like, I don't know. He goes, well, what do you like? He's like, I like Coke. And he's like, well, you would press here. He goes, I don't know what that says. He couldn't read it. And the guy's like, well, time out. How do you know what Coke to get? How do you know how to do this? So the guy, the gentleman with special needs, walked over and pointed to the soda dispenser. He goes, that's Coke, that's Sprite, that's this, that's that, because he knew it by the graphic. He knew it by the logo. And he was like, son bitch. So he went over and he changed on the POS pictures of the Cokes, of the sodas. And he's like, what do you normally get? And he's like, I don't know, number 3, which was, God, I can't believe I remember this, was a double quarter pounder with cheese and fries and a Coke. I can't believe I remember it, but it's there. And he goes, okay. And he showed him the POS, which is his grid. He goes, how would you order it? And he goes, and he waited. He was like, where's the number 3? And the guy's like, oh my God. I was going through press double quarter pounder with cheese, press fries, press this, do this, instead of just press number 3. The difference between a process and a system is systems will set you free. Processes are designed that if you have to train someone, that is a process. If you can take someone off the street and implement it like that, and no one is mission critical to the entire thing, that is a system. And I don't care if it's the most insignificant thing. Henry Ford taught us this, built cars off systems where people just did it. They did that one thing over and over again. If you can systematize your practice, you can scale it. And when business are running into problems, there's a lot of employees who have as big of an ego, if not more of an ego, than the founders. So when I work with them, I'm like, listen, I'm going to fire a bunch of your staff. And I might fire some people that have been with you for a real long time, because I'm going to automate everything they do. And when the guests come on Scale It and they show us these systems that they've created, that's what gets me the most excited. What turns me off is when people come in and they're like, oh, I want a strategy. Strategy's not going to save you. System will save you. System's the only thing that'll ever set you free. And when you go through kind of these 3-step processes to get someone to scaling, it's easy. It's unbelievably fast, because you've gotten out of the biggest problem in the environment, which is humans. Get them out of the way. Yeah. Where's the problem?
How do you work with employees? Okay, so obviously, if they can't adapt, you get the power from the owner to fire them or whatever you do. Yeah, absolutely. But like, how do you get their buy-in, and how do you get them to see it differently, and to sort of, I mean, on one service, you'd be like, look how much easier this makes your life, and standardize things. Right. But, it's natural, just like it is for me as the founder. I mean, I can be self-aware and go, sometimes I think I know best, and I've figured it out, or I've done all these things. How do you sort of get buy-in for the ones that aren't toxic and just can't be changed?
Right. So it's all human behavior at that point, right? So there's never been an employee that's super duper happy. They're all disgruntled about something. So you build rapport and you have a conversation with them. And one of the first things I bring them all together and I go, here's the staff. And I've already rehearsed this with the owners. And the owners will come in and I'm like, all right, guys, I go, we're gonna have a meeting. I go, and I'm gonna do something that none of y'all can do. And I turn to the owners and I go, get the hell out of my meeting, go away. And they all go away. I said, all right, go away. And they sit there and we've already established that whatever anybody says, no one can be fired. And nothing's being recorded. We need to talk it out.
You're
when
in
they
the trust tree.
So I'm like, go away. And they get it. Like, all right, cool. And then we implement, and the military does this really well. The SEALs do this better than anybody else. It's called decentralized command. We start pushing down command up and down the chain. And we just listen to them. We get the rapport in and we talk about it. And if you have that individual who is just a nightmare, the easiest way to do that is build rapport and over-enable them. You give them enough rope so that they're just going to hang themselves. There's always that one employee who has a God complex because this is their entire life. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Absolutely. Go for it. Run with it. And you just give and give, and then they just burn out and they realize just, nope, I'm just combat ineffective. I'm like, yeah, that didn't work. And then you sit down and you realize, hey, this can be done this way and this can be done. And then we incentivize them and you find out what they want. And everyone has different human needs, right? Some people want certainty. Some people want significance. There's all these different human needs that people want. Some people are like, oh, I want more money. All right, cool. You hit these marks, I'll make you more money. Some people are like, you know what? I just want to be able to work from home. Some people are like, I just want to pick up my kids from school. I'm like, all right, how do we do that? How do we get in that environment? So understanding that each individual person is an individual and has different needs. So you come in and seeing them take the power away from the owners instantaneously. And I normally get a little vulgar with them. I get to forget my meeting. And they're like, oh, okay. And they walk away. I'm like, go away. You're done. We're not having this conversation with you anymore. Get in here and let's have a conversation where we can empower them and listening to them, because most founders are horrible listeners because they think they know better. And they're just like, this is what I'm going to do. Here's my plan. I came up with that idea, implement it. And my job is to fire them. My job is to fire owners. Get out of the way. I'm going to create the residual income you want so you can go live on that boat. And this is a cash cow now. And then normally once you start working with the founder and they detach from the emotional detachment to I'm a widget company or whatever it is that they've built up because their granddaddy, whatever. Once they get out of that and they start getting married to this residual income, they then go, how do I exit? What is my exit? What is my 3-year exit? How do I get out of this? And then, one of the things that you're running into now is how do I then get into an investment group where I can leverage that cash? How can I be in that environment where, hey, I've never invested before in my life. I've got 7 figures now because I just exited out of my company. What do I do so my great-great-grandchildren never have to work? And it's a different conversation versus how do I pay the bills or how do I make this business thrive to how do I make sure my kids never have to worry about food ever again and have to suffer? And I think going back to your original question, that's what causes the pivot. It's getting that zooming out a whole lot more versus the everyday just onslaught that people run into.
Talking with a really smart guy, Charles Schwartz, host of the Scale It Lab. And yeah, as you can imagine, a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, go figure. Hey, Charles, I don't know. Like I was kind of like, I'm taking notes like mentally while you're going, like, because, I run multiple companies. I'm sitting here going, yep. I need to do that. I don't need to do this. And
100%.
But I do think it is fascinating. You kind of went there at the end of, you kind of almost answered my question without me asking you. That's how you know you got somebody smart on with you. But because some companies scale, like the owner's gotten out of the way, and move the ego. He doesn't want to be involved. He doesn't need to be involved. It at the high level, vision only, whatever. But there's still opportunity to scale. Is that just where you're doubling down on those systems? I mean, is it more than, because if the owner's out of the way, where do you start that sort of scale process?
You hunt the market.
Yeah.
So you find out, does the market actually want to buy what you're selling? And are you the best option in that? So many people try and sell, the analogy is they try and sell vitamins instead of Advil or, the pain pill. Don't try and fix their health. Get them out of pain first. And there's all these people who sit there and they brought their product to a market that, hey, it may have been great 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It's not great now. The market changes too darn quickly. So are you listening? Are you doing those peer reviews? Are you working with the clients? Are you getting that information back to say, hey, is this the best product that we need to be doing? Is this what we need to be selling? I used to own an IT company. We were what was known as an MSP, which was a managed service provider. And we just like, we're your IT department. And that was our thing. We're your IT department. I live in South Florida. We had hurricanes all the time. So people don't give a damn about your damn IT department. The only thing they care about is, are my computers never going to go down no matter what? And we found a way, and this was back then, to do VMs. And no one had heard it before. No one was. And a virtual machine, basically you mirror whatever's going on into the cloud. And I would walk in and I was talking to a client and I was like, yeah, they were really worried about it because there's construction going on in the building. I said, well, I can make it that if a purple dragon shows up and eats your whole building and you have no computers, that I could ship you off to Rome. You can log into a laptop you've never touched before and you can still do payroll and still be fully operational. And they're like, you can do that? I was like, yeah, it's no big deal. And they're like, I want that. So all of a sudden overnight, our business went, we're not an IT company anymore. Well, no, that's not who we are. That's not what the market wants. The markup on this is unreal. So I said, listen, I can do it, but it's going to cost X amount of dollars. And then we have to maintain it and all of that. And it was nothing. And I can say this now because I'm way out of my NDA, but it was the easiest thing we could do. And our markup was, 7-8 times what it was. It was ridiculous. And people were just jumping at the door and they were firing their other IT departments. I was like, no, keep your IT department. I don't want to be your IT department. I don't care that Susie doesn't know how to put paper in a printer. I'm going to make it so you never go down ever again. So when you're in that and you're running that problem where you're not scaling, it's looking at the market. If you've already sat there and you're like, okay, the owner's out of the way, you've got people on board, you've got decentralized command, you've already redesigned the culture and you dove into that. Part of that process now is, what does the market actually want? Does the market want another, we were talking about this before, does the market want another podcast that's going to tell me all about what you did in high school? Or does the market want something that's going to give me radical value that I can work on and implement right now? There's 3.2 million podcasts. You're number one in marketing forever. The reason that happens is because you provide phenomenal value and because you listen to the market. And if you're not doing that, you lose. I don't care how good everything else is. You lose. So you have to constantly readjust to what the market actually wants.
Yep. Pivot at the right time, baby.
Yep. Pivot as much as you can.
I do think, pivot is an interesting word, though, I think, for scaling, because I think in today's world with technology and AI and how fast things change, I don't know a business that, Amazon may not pivot a ton, but they kind of do. So their core is, e-commerce, but damn, unless you're them.
Amazon, we had a guy actually on the podcast and he wrote a book called the Bezos Letters or something.
Yeah.
And the core of Amazon is that Jeff wrote, we are going to be obsessed about our customers. And that word obsessed changed the ballgame. They are obsessed with the customer experience. It's why I pay $150 a year for Prime, because if I return, they don't have to meet with it. Yeah. Nothing. I've got, right down the street from me is a Target. I could literally walk into Target and get whatever I wanted. I'll rather wait the 24 hours because I know the return is going to be so simple. And I'm just like, whatever, I can just give it a shot. And I bought so much more because of that. The core of what Amazon does so well is they chose to obsess about customers. And that's something the market wasn't doing. And that was their pivot. And they've never lost it. It's Costco with the $1.50 hot dogs and the $4.99 or whatever it is chicken. They're like, no, screw you. This is what we're going to do, because they know that it might be a loss leader for them, but it's going to bring people in. So if you're in that situation where you're struggling, really figure out how you're showing up to the market. Because if you're racing on price, you lose, because there's always going to be someone cheaper and there's always going to be someone faster can do it. We talked about, technology. I can literally there's a program with AI called 11 Labs that knows my voice well enough that can do an entire podcast for me, automated every single day. And I never even have to be involved. So the market's changing so quickly, but is that going to give the value what the audience actually wants? No, it's not. So it's pivoting around in that way very quickly.
I love that you brought up Costco. I, as a marketing guy, lifelong marketer, I reference Costco a lot as a point of reference for different things, and as a brand that's figured it out. That damn hot dog, that $1 slice of pizza that's still 8 inches thick.
Yeah, it's huge.
The amount of people that go and eat their full, family meal, my family included occasionally, for that.
Sure, go in there, have fun, kids.
And but then I go buy, 484 rolls of toilet paper.
Yes, because that's what we need. We need that much toilet paper in our life. It's COVID again. We have to hoard the toilet paper.
17 cases of mustard.
Yes, damn, exactly what I need.
But that hot dog was good.
But I saved money on the hot dog, honey. What the hell? Yeah. So it's funny. I literally went to Costco today. I went and got the hot dog. I'm not proud of it. My trainer will kill me. And when I was there, I was like, hey, they have these shrimp cocktail things. This thing of shrimp that I got a bunch of those, and I got a bunch of those. And I walk out of Costco and I'm like, we're $250. I just went in for a damn hot dog.
And that's exactly what they charge at the door, I think. I think it's that's the minimum now. I can't get out of there less than $450.
Go back and shop for more. Just go back, get more.
With the kids, with 4 boys, I'll go in there. I'm like, man, you talk about convincing yourself of buys, damn, I really needed that shirt. They'll have the most random, I got to know who their buyers are,
And they do it. And that's behavioral economics, right?
Yeah.
And they've got it nailed down. My favorite example of behavioral economics is wine. They did the study and the people came in for wine and they're like, we want you to buy more French wine. So we just play French music. we want you to buy more Italian wine because we always like, we're just gonna play Italian music. And the customer has no clue. They have no clue. They're like, I feel like buying Italian wine today. I'm like, oh, magic, look at that. Humans are so predictable. So predictable. So it's fun watching them kind of go through that process and understanding that all of this has been predefined and you can leverage all of this if you know what you're doing.
So like, let's talk about whatever it becomes, but Scale It Lab today, and what you've built there and you're scaling it. Yeah. What is it ultimately leading? Like, you're building a funnel there of sorts of knowledge and information and doing things. Like, where are you driving people to and how are you helping people?
So this is exactly what we were talking about before. I had no idea where we were going with it. We had no intent, but the goal was I want to create something that people pull over and write stuff on their hands. So we created a lab report. So in other words, if you hear Ryan come on the show and talk on the show, we're going to break that down into a 70-page lab report, which is nothing more than a massive workbook where you're going to be like, oh, I could do this and I can do that and I can do this. Okay, that makes sense. But what we found from our listeners, they're like, listen, entrepreneurship is isolation. We need to talk to people. How can I sit down and how can I talk to you, Charles? How can I talk to Ryan? How can I talk to your guests? How can I talk to each other? Where, we were talking about this before the show came on. I've now entered the world of Mac. Sorry, everybody who knows me. I have a Mac now. And I don't know how to do diddly poop with it. I was like, oh, I don't know. So I'll just go online and I'll be like, okay, there it is. That's how I do it. But there isn't that for our entrepreneurs. We don't have this ability to come together and say, hey, I'm struggling through this. I have my newsletter that's acting up. I have my mastermind that's walking up. Hey, I got this thing with accounting and taxes and fulfillment and blah, blah, blah. I'm having these issues. We don't have that ability to come together. So we're creating over at Scale It Lab because this is what everyone's demanded from me. They're like, hey, can we have a community? Can we come together? Can we have access to your guests? Can we ask them questions live that I'm too embarrassed or too shy, or I just can't get access to them? Because some of our guests are $200,000 a year just to interact with them and work with them as a client. You're not going to talk to them. So to be able to bring people in and say, hey, here's Ryan. He's been doing this a really long time. He's the best in marketing podcast forever. Getting a hold of him is a small act of God. He's got 4 boys. He's running multiple businesses. You're not going to get a hold of him. But in this environment, in this ecosystem, not only going to be able to access to him, but you're going to have the behind the scenes and you can watch him answer someone else's question live. Everything at Scale, it's designed around being practical. How can I use this now? How can I implement this immediately? And that's where it's really running towards. And what's interesting is we're finding that the higher end scalers, my normal clients, that the 7 figures and up, they want a community as well. They want a fireside chat because what happens at a 6-figure level is not the same at a 7-figure level. It's just not. It's a totally different world. And they don't want to sit there and go through the minutia of, oh, you just started a company? Great. Okay. Go. Yeah. They want to sit there and say, hey, I'm running into this. My distributor out in China is running into issues. How do I find 3 more distributors? I've got tax changes. I've got finance changes. I had a partner that stole money from me. Those are the type of questions that most people in 6 years, they're not there yet. And they'll get there. They really wanted to have a high-end community. So that's the other thing that we found, that people really want that very high-end community that can come together. So that's kind of where we're going with it.
Yeah. And you used the word, I was thinking like, how would I describe Charles? Mm-hmm. There's this like black and white practicality with you. Like, yes, it's like I'm sure that, you can go watch a funny movie and let your hair down, but I do think it's like, Charles, like, he's like, look, all right, I need practicality here. Like, what are the systems? What's the process? Like, you're clearly,
I'm tactical as fuck. Yeah, I'm just tactical as hell. Just tell me exactly what I need to do. And I think it comes from, again, running operations and running computer systems with people dying. I'm like, I don't need fluff. I don't have time for fluff. We did it for finance institutions as well. I was like, listen, they're a high-end trading company. If they go down, they're losing tens of thousands of dollars every second they're down. We don't have this luxury. Tell me what works. We'll talk about how great you are and how pretty you are later. What's tactical? What can I do now? I don't want to sit there and be like, yes, honey, you're very pretty. Shut up. We got stuff to do. And there's a time and a place. But going through there and, the nickname everyone gives me, the one word everyone describes me is intense. They're like, you're intense. And the goal is get in, let's execute, and then we can breathe after. Because, as for what I do and for what, I've done for a really long time, I'm not brought in because people are having a good day. I'm brought in because there's a fire. Well, let's put the fire out and then we can talk about something else. But it's being about very tactical with all of this. And that's why I hate processes and I hate standard operating procedures. Give me systems. It's the only thing that'll set you free.
You got time for a little lightning round QA?
Oh God. Okay, sure. Bring it. Let me drink some water and then
My team put this list of questions and I was like, I like this a little bit. I'll see what Charles
let's see what
thinks.
I can do.
We can always edit it out if we don't like it, but
We'll
go there. What's your favorite startup success story?
Oh, geez. I don't have, I actually don't have one. No, that's not true. Guy I worked for, he was a army guy. He was completely lost. He didn't know what to do. Him and his partner were, one was an Ivy League school grad. This guy was the other guy. They were just burning out as lawyers. They went in and they bought this company they put pickled pig's feet and pickled eggs. They bought this company. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Why would you buy this? What's wrong with you? I'm like, you're an Ivy League school grad. What the hell's wrong with you? And he goes, let me show you my process. Once every 2-3 weeks, they would put the eggs and the pig's feet, disgusting, in these jars. They'd hire people to do it. They filled it up with the whatever, sealed them, and then put them on the shelf. I was like, what are you doing? He goes, 7-figure business. We're never involved. Our stuff never goes bad. And it was the first time I ever saw ego being taken out. You got an Ivy League guy who owns a pickling pig's feet company. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What I love about that was they didn't try and build it. They bought it from someone, this is the greatest opportunity in history, where you've got these boomers who are exhausted. Their kids don't want their companies. You can get these companies pennies on a dollar. They're nothing to do it. You can bring a little bit of automation and you can scale it. That's what these guys did 20 years ago. They bought it for a couple $100,000 and they sold it for 8 figures in like 5 years.
Love it.
Got love.
The pickled eggs and
pig feet and eggs. It was disgusting. I mean, literally a trough of pigs. Oh, Jesus.
Hey, you can make money doing a lot of different things. That'd be the perfect example. What's your go-to productivity tool?
Writing things down, writing all the things that I want to get done, and then choosing the 2 things that'll create the most radical change for me and putting those as my first things. Because I think one of the things that we don't do as a system, as a society, is we don't measure the cost of today's decisions. In other words, what is this going to cost me to be lazy? What is this going to cost me to not do this now? What is the long-term cost of that? We just don't do that. So we get messed up and we get caught up in the idea of productive procrastination. I'm going to clean my house. I'm going to shave. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Ineffective. What are the 2 things that if you do this will create the most radical change? And those are the first things you do every morning. And sometimes that's your business stuff. Sometimes it's your health stuff. Sometimes it's taking your wife out and taking her to the beach. There's these different things. But writing everything down and then saying, okay, what are the 2 things? And you only get 2 that'll radically change my life.
Any software, back to that AI, that you found, or like an actual tool, like software, anything that's like changed your world in like the 100%. Last year?
Yeah. My VAs.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. I hire them, I give them the software tools, but everything I do has a system involved. Everything is that. I'm not going to get married to, ChatGPT is amazing. It's amazing. There's a couple things that I've learned on the Mac that are really great, but are they going to change my bottom line? Are they going to give me more freedom? Are they going to give me more residual income? No. The most powerful thing I have is working with my VA. So if there's a software connected to that, boom. So I don't have to talk to them, but no, really it's just implementing and systematizing my VAs more than getting married to a specific strategy or piece of software.
Who was or has been your most memorable guest on your show? It's like asking, I get asked that a lot. It's like, I've had 500 episodes. I'm about to hit that milestone. And I'm like, what? You're asking me to choose one of my babies? Nah.
I think the one that blew my mind the most was Andy, who did the AI.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. And then Leanne, who gave me the harsh reality of dropshipping and affiliate marketing. She came in and it was one of the first episodes she did. And I adore her. She was just raw, authentic, no BS about what affiliate marketing is. And this is a woman with 25 years experience. And I remember when we finished recording, for those of you who don't record podcasts, there's a whole huge conversation that happens behind the scenes as soon as we stop recording. As soon as we turned off the mics and the recording, I was like, holy crap. I was like, it was like getting hit in the head with a baseball bat relentlessly, because I had all these preconceived notions about affiliate marketing. She's like, no, don't listen to Instagram. It's not true. This is the real way you make money in it. And I remember at the end going, oh my God, it felt like the first time you saw the first scene in Saving Private Ryan, where the doors come down, the first road just gets wiped out at the beach at Normandy. Yeah. That's what it felt like. I was like, holy Christ. It was intense. It was intense.
Finally, if you could start a business in indie industry today, what would it be? Maybe you could even
I would never start a business.
Okay.
I would never start a business. I would go find a service-based business, probably in the healthcare industry where I'm taking care of elderly people. And I would probably purchase one of the home health agencies, and I would systematize all those, get those and going and scale those, because that's going to be a huge boom. But I would never start a business. It's probably it's why I didn't name it, start it. I named it scale it. Starting a business I would never recommend it. It's horrible. I would always recommend purchase something that's already established, so you have income and you have cash flow day one, and then go from there. So I'd probably be in the healthcare industry. And then if you're in the Dallas, Austin, Houston area, if you're in that little triangle, jump into manufacturing with everything you have, everything you got.
Interesting. Smart man from someone who started 5 companies. I'm glutton for punishment. I took on way more than it was.
It's not easy.
It's not.
I mean, I've done it too.
How many people fail? What's the startup failure rate?
Oh my God, it's brutal. I mean, you have a better chance of surviving a car crash. So I would never do it. And because it's just ineffective of your time. Purchase it, scale it, systematize it. Hire people smarter than you, pay them more than what they're worth. Get out of their way.
There you have it. Charles, where can everybody keep up with everything you've got going on? Show, book, life, you name it.
So if you want the book, it's yours for free. We've been giving away since 2019. Just go on my Instagram. We have a link there. Just I am Charles Schwartz. IamCharlesSchwartz.com goes from there, and then Scale Lab. If you want to get access, we have all the episodes and all the lab reports and all that's there for you. If you want to listen to the podcast, please, by all means, give feedback. Yes, I know my AV does not work very well. We are working on it. But perfection is the enemy of execution. I'm working on it. But yeah, that's where they can track me down. I am Charles Schwartz is probably the best on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
I'll say this, and partly why Charles is here. I caught his show and then went down the rabbit hole. And I'll tell you, as someone that helps, shows scale and grow, the formula that Charles developed that was so clear, like the journey from, okay, why is he doing the show? The content of the show, who's it helping, and the funnel and the flow. For me being a marketer, knowing it was just crystal clear, and it's a blueprint for really, I think, how to build, grow a show, create something of value, and then sort of have that leverage. And I think you've done a great job, Charles.
Man, I really appreciate it. Thank you, especially from you, because you got the whole network over there, and you've been doing this a lot. You know what you're doing, and it's marketing, and I'm still learning. The one thing I was not prepared for was the absolute onslaught of people that are interested. When you give something of value, they're going to be there. I was not prepared for that. I'm grateful for it, but wasn't prepared. We're working on it.
There you go. Charles, we really appreciate you, brother. Look forward to following you and obviously collaborating whatever and however we can.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, you know where to find us, RyanIsRight.com. You'll find all the highlight clips, the full episode, the audio, the video. Go over there to YouTube, watch. Charles, pretty boy. You can go see Charles in person. He looks good. He talks good. He is good. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Right About Now.
This has been Right About Now with Ryan Alford, a Radcast Network production. Visit RyanIsRight.com for full audio and video versions of the show, or to inquire about sponsorship opportunities. Thanks for listening.